We've qualified for the World Cup. Go and compete.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Put 'em Under Pressure podcast. My name is Kieran and I'm joined by Adrian and Connor. Now, to begin this week's 13th edition of the PUPcast, I wanted to pay tribute to, I guess, someone who's influential on the name of our podcast, but also on Irish football. Jack Charlton passed away sadly this weekend. Fond memories of the boys in green. I think we could safely say that we wouldn't have this podcast or we wouldn't have this enthusiasm in Ireland without Jack Charlton. He really did springboard the sport in Ireland. Flynn, do you have any?
Well, you could argue he had the best players we've ever had, and some people think he underachieved with that team.
Well, I mean, there's a yeah, you could say that, but
Like
I mean, none of them.
the Dumfries of this world, because even at Italia 90, he was there causing trouble at press conferences, arguing with Jack, and saying like, "I'm asking the questions the Irish people want answered," and no, Irish people were loving it. They were just going mental, getting to the quarterfinals, and Dumphy was like, "No."
Absolutely.
But like a team like Ireland getting to the quarterfinals is insane.
Crazy.
Like the top 8 in the world.
Yeah,
It was got us to our first ever tournament, the Euros, got us to the first ever World Cup, got us our highest place in World Cup, got us to the next World Cup.
And let's not forget as well that he had to like basically recruit that team.
Yeah,
They were not like, I know they were entitled to play for Ireland and whatnot, but a few of them were a bit, grandfather's best friend was Irish kind of job. But he had to go out and find the people willing to play, and he had the right ambition too. Like he didn't have to. He could have just phoned that job in,
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say it's so sad that we're like too young to have experienced like the Italian 90 thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it just sounds like it was the best year in Ireland's history.
It was a big deal, yeah.
Basically because of the World Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, since then there's been, what's it called in rugby? The Grand Slam. That doesn't hook people the same way. Like people still talk about Italian 90. No one talks about the Grand Slam 10 years ago anymore.
It was a big deal culturally, like on a big scale in Ireland, because it was like Ireland coming out of the 80s was just starting to develop into an actual country. Like they had been dirt poor. Since independence, Ireland had nothing going for it at all, up until the very late 80s when they started getting something together. They started getting a little bit of money, and unemployment started going down a little bit, immigration started going down a little bit, coming out of recession. And like the very early 90s then was like this big atmosphere of Ireland is finally arrived on the geopolitical scale. They were like, hey, we're here too, and we're brilliant, and we're going to show off and be fucking like. I think Ireland developed a reputation as being like really fun fans, or like good visitors or whatever, because I feel like people had a point to prove about Ireland to the world, really.
That was it. It was really, everyone was really bought in on the whole, we're underdogs, we're here, we're going to turn up, we're going to we're going to party, we're going to celebrate it, and we really don't have much expectations, but we're going to give it a go. And I think players like Ray Houghton really epitomized like that feeling of like, not world beaters necessarily, but we'll run around for 90 minutes. And I think it says a lot about that era of Irish football.
But I think that mentality is still there to an extent. I know we get pissed off when we go to Andorra and draw, but any big tournament we've gone to, like the fans are always, not being English fans.
Yeah.
In many ways, Ireland's identity is based around being not English.
Yeah.
It's quite fundamental to it, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Because was it
same with Canada? Their identity is not being American.
Yeah, but one was it the last Euros? I think no, it was the Euros before when we were playing. What was the last game? I think we got hammered by Spain or something.
Yeah.
And like you could just hear the Fields of Athenry being sung for like 10 straight minutes before the final whistle.
Yeah.
And I guess that all started from Italian 90, maybe.
It did.
Arguably.
It did. And I think it says a lot about that era of football too. When without, and no one would complain about it. Is that like TG Car or sometimes RTE would show that Romania game that went to penalties, a 0-0 draw, and everyone was like, "Yes, great game, yeah brilliant game."
yeah.
And it was like it obviously was, and it was huge. But there's not many other countries that would sit for 120 minutes plus a penalty shootout and be like, "That was one of our best ever games."
Yeah, that underdog mentality can't really last forever though, because now Ireland is a really rich, developed country. So you can't really say we're underdogs against like Croatia, who are getting to the World Cup final, who have a smaller population than Ireland and are poorer and less resources. And now it's sort of a bit like it's more disappointment during games a lot of times now, rather than saying just taking any positives.
Yeah,
anything at all. You're like, yes, we did it against all odds. We achieved something.
Yeah.
Now it's like, come on.
Yeah.
Well, the good times are gone. That's for sure. And I think it might work cyclically as well. Is that it's going to a very dark point in like Irish national football. The quality's poor, but then we see all these young lads coming through in the kind of underage teams and playing in the Premier League. Mm-hmm. Maybe that will be like the new boys in green, the new put them under pressure. Generation, which I really hope for, because God, we've needed it over the last 10 years. It's been dire.
It's been the first time in over 10-15 years, I'd say, where there's been young Irish players that I'm excited about.
Yep.
Because otherwise you're waiting for fellas from the Championship or League One to maybe get to the Premier League when they're 27, 28, and then they get a call up and you're like, Jesus, is this what we're pinning our hopes on? Like fucking, what was your man's name? The guy Pilkington. Yeah, sure. He was like mid-30s, early 30s.
Is it O'Dowda? He's like 28, and he's meant to be like, like the new blood.
But you know what I mean? It's like they're literally players that have decided, well, I'm not going to get a call up for Scotland or for England.
Yeah.
And now I'm Irish, because like these players just appear.
Yeah.
In their late 20s, and they're like candidates for the Irish squad. It's sad.
I wonder how long Jack Grealish will hold out for an England call up.
Do you know what? He's going to make his, in my opinion, he'll make his move to a top 6 team this summer, and he will be automatically called up.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. It's like Wan-Bissaka last season. The second he signed for United, it was like, well, we may as well include you in the training squad now, which is bollocks if you ask me. But
well, maybe the English panel, they're letting scouts from clubs do the work for them. They're like, well, they've identified this guy can do the job for United, so let's just bring him in.
It's true.
Save Southgate some time going off to Burnley or something, watching players. Although, what else is he to be doing?
Exactly. He should be watching all
job.
of the football.
Yeah.
We watch more football than he does.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that wraps up, I guess, our tribute to, I was going to say our namesake, but not really. He kind of coined the slogan that we use, the put him under pressure slogan. So we'll crack a can for you tonight, Jack Charlton. Rest in peace, big lad. Wow, that was loud.
That was a good can sound.
Yes. Tell everyone about your can, Adrian.
Oh, are we putting this in?
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
I'll just zone out for a few minutes here.
No, don't do that. So I got one of the limited edition red Carlsberg cans.
Limited edition.
Yeah.
Oh, they're limited edition, alright.
There was about 200 of them in Tesco anyway. But they were 4 for 10, not bad. So it says 2020 onwards on the can. Apparently it says something else on the usual Carlsberg cans.
But you know why it says 2020 onwards?
No.
So they can recycle them next year if you win it again. Sorry.
Chimpanzee.
Yeah, I was saving this can just for the podcast so I can gloat.
Well, good for you.
Are we talking about Liverpool?
No, we've one little bit to start with. Well, I mean, we can.
No, it's fine. I'll wait.
Well, yeah, we can get into. I just going to say it's our 13th podcast, right? Which is unlucky for some. Mm-hmm. Either of you superstitious?
No,
slightly.
Not at all. In fact, anti-superstition.
Anti-superstition.
Yeah.
Really? Well, you just think it's all that everything is planned out in life and it just happens, right?
I don't hold on to like rabbit's feet or 4-leaf clover or any of that and think it's going to make a difference. No.
No, okay. What's your superstition, Stanley?
The one that stays with me is always the magpies.
Yeah.
Like we
fuck's
were
sake.
taught that fucking thing in primary school. For anyone who doesn't know, there's a rhyme, and it's like if you see a magpie, 1 is for sorrow, so you'll be sad. 2 for joy, 3 for girl, 4 for boy, whatever that means. 5 for silver, 6 for gold, and 7 I never really understood. Something about getting a secret told or something.
Yeah.
But the amount of times I see one magpie and I'm driving and I like wave and say hello, Mr. Magpie, and do whatever else you have to do, it's just like ingrained in me because I learned in 4th class probably.
I don't blame people for that, because when you're a kid being taught, you're learning stuff every day as a kid, and you're learning like how gravity works, or you're learning that the sun rises in, you know, the east and sets in the west or whatever, and these are like facts. And they also teach you like Santa Claus gives you presents, and that the tooth fairy takes your teeth and gives you money for them, and they're taught to children as well, like this is what happens. And then later you find out, oh no, some of the stuff we told you was actually big lies. And you're just like,
And you got,
all right.
and they never really distinguish which
They
ones are
never
the big lies.
yeah.
They're just like, well, we had to hide a few things from you. Yeah, it's called indoctrination, isn't
I heard about some kid who found like a skull of a cat in the garden, and he took the teeth out of it and put it under his pillow, and his parents found it and was like, what the fuck is this? It's like, I thought I'd get a load of money out of it. You told me you had money for it.
That's fun.
That's how serial killers start, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I buried these 2 bodies and took their teeth so I could be rich.
There's some things, like I guess I've said here that I'm not going to watch another Liverpool match with Flynn because every time I do they don't win. You know, little things like that.
Sorry.
No, I don't blame you. But little things like that, I tend to notice things. But do I believe it has any fucking difference? Not
Yes.
really. Well, okay.
Watch another game with Flynn.
But why would I? Why would I chance it? It's like when someone's on their deathbed and they're like praying to God, and it's like you've never prayed a day in your life. It's like, well, it's not going to do me any harm.
Oh man, no, if I was God and someone their whole life had blown me off, and then at the end when they're dying they're like, you know, I might as well just to be safe, I'd be like, fuck off. Not a chance, boy.
That's probably what God is like, though.
Maybe.
You know, just fuck off.
Yeah, but it's that whole destiny thing. Like, do you believe in destiny? Like, but to me, I kind of do, because I believe that in 10 minutes we're going to be here talking about something. We don't know what it is yet, but it's inevitable that we will end up talking about that thing. Because no matter what decision we make, it's in 10 minutes time. Do you know what I mean?
I don't understand how
No.
that would mean we're going to be sitting here talking about something in 10 minutes.
Because a lot of things could happen in 10 minutes. Like, a car could come through the window, God forbid. But
Yeah.
but there's another superstition saying things like God forbid. Doesn't mean
That's
that I
a
wish
turn of
it.
phrase.
Really, though? But it doesn't mean I wish the car to come through it. But I don't know. There are some very superstitious people like that. People that have like rabbit's feet and stuff like that. You know.
I just believe like someday, it will take me for example. So I'm not attacking you. Someday I'm gonna die. It will happen.
Allegedly.
It's inevitable. There's things I can do to change when it happens, but it is gonna happen. And kind of how I go about it, you know, I can choose that, but the path is going to be, there is an end to it. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So in that sense, I do kind of believe in that.
I'm kind of in the middle of both of you here, as I have routines that I do, and I have things that I do, and I know if I do them certain ways, I'm more comfortable with it. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's superstitious. But yeah, I'd be like, oh, I'll leave the house at this time because then I won't have to rush or something like that. You know, so.
Well, I wouldn't even consider that superstition.
No?
Really, that's just a routine that I think
Okay.
the human brain is wired to
Need.
respond to.
Like you're going to leave an hour before work because it takes you 55 minutes to get to work.
It's like
Don't
I leave
leave
10
half
minutes
yeah.
after work. Sorry.
Like
But
my very
yeah.
season didn't work.
But I mean, even like, yeah, I guess it's just routine.
Yeah.
I guess it's just routine then.
That's it.
Yeah, there's no rabbit feet involved
No.
yet.
I wonder, sometimes I was thinking if watching a game makes a difference to the outcome.
Oh.
You know,
I hear
I
this
used
the
to
whole time.
used to be paranoid about that I'd watch games and Arsenal would lose if I watched, or if I walked into the room, United would score as soon as I turned on the TV.
But that's a big thing because people remember the
Yeah.
bad feelings more than the like, oh, they've won again. You know,
Yeah.
like I have a friend who's like, oh, typical. I watch Liverpool and they lose, but they won't remember the last 5 times they watched them that they won. You know.
Yeah.
Although I have heard people saying, trying to explain it scientifically, that if you go down to like the atomic level of our bodies, like we're all made up of atoms or whatever, and everything around us is also made up of atoms, and they're connected by, you know, some of them are closer together, like in our bodies, and then they're spaced out in the oxygen and around us in the world. So if you actually moved, your atoms are moving somewhere in the world that is going to affect the atoms all around it somewhere else, which means that maybe if you move and turn on the TV, and if you're looking at the TV, it can affect things that happen.
Now that's See, that makes complete sense to me though. It does, because you put yourself in some other situation. There's different outcomes. You know, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of an example here that wouldn't like embarrass me to listen back to, but like if you said you'd meet someone at a place at a certain time, and you didn't show up, but then you happened to be in another place where there was a crime or someone got hurt and you were there to witness that, surely you've changed the outcome of said event.
Yeah, but I this is the destiny thing.
This is more like time travel and shit, isn't it?
Yeah, the time cast.
Like the butterfly effect.
I just believe that, like,
Mandela
at some point
effect.
you're just going to make that decision that you're not going to meet here, you're going to go here instead. It's just going to happen.
You think it's bound to happen? That it's... Yeah.
I don't feel like I don't have free choice, but I feel like eventually I'm going to make this choice. You know? Like
based on everything that's happened to you before,
let's take
you're
tonight,
going to
right?
make that choice.
Tonight.
Yeah.
You can cut this if you want. But
No, this is gold.
But
Yeah.
we're playing poker later,
Yeah.
right? There's going to be 6 of us playing poker. Someone's going to win that. That's going to be down to chance, and it's going to be down to how people play their cards and what cards they get. But in however many hours, we'll say 6 hours time, someone is going to be the winner. That is undisputed. And if you
not
win,
really.
The game might not finish.
Yeah, what if it doesn't finish? What if something happens? What if
okay, but then
Tom doesn't show
then
up?
that happens, and in 6 in 6 hours time, I'll say, remember 6 hours ago when I said someone's going to win? Yeah, someone just won, and it was always going to happen because the cards are in there. Someone is going to shuffle them a certain way. They're going to be dealt out. You know how you play poker. You're going to do it your way. I'm going to play poker. I'm going to do it my way, and it's going to happen. And obviously, if I decide fuck this, I'm going to prove a point and walk out the door and not play poker, so there's only 5e playing poker, that choice was always going to happen because of the conversation we're having. Does that make sense? Or am I talking gibberish?
It's hard for me to argue because I don't have enough to argue with.
Well,
it makes sense.
If
Yeah,
you're talking
but
about like free will and deciding whether you're affected by things that happen around you, as in like the wind was blowing such a way, so my hair was in my eyes, so I put it that way, which made me 2 seconds late to get into the room, and the room was a little cold, so I put on a jacket or something because I left the door open for a second, and because I was wearing a jacket, I got hot under the collar, and I was like, too anxious playing my cards or whatever, and I lost the hand. It's like that's saying that it's not free will because you're affected by everything that's around you. You know?
But I do believe you are affected by the things around you,
but they're irrelevant to what the.
But those things are always gonna, like, the effect of them. So if like I am the way I am because I was brought up by my parents and I learned certain ways to live by my parents, that was always going to happen because they're my parents and I learned off them. Do you know what I mean? So like outside factors do affect you, but it makes you do what you're doing and make you make the choices you're making.
For me, I think it depends on how closely you're looking at. I mean, if you're looking from like a bird's eye view of like a timeline of someone's day, then yes, it's very easy to like support what you're saying, Hanley. But I think if you're looking at the intricacies of what we do and why we do it, I think Flynn's one.
You could talk about a likelihood that it's more likely that we're going to have a winner tonight in poker, because logically that's probably what's going to happen, rather than a car crashing through.
Yeah. No, I think I'm talking too general, and I do. I'm finding it really hard to articulate exactly what I mean. I a lot of the time, if I was nervous about something, right? If I was going into an exam, I'd always say, look, in 3 hours' time, you'll be out of that exam hall and it'll be done. It's inevitable. It's just what's gonna happen.
And is that not the same as like me making sure I leave on time, so that I'm not late for work?
No. It's a different thing. Like it's like I'm doing the leaving cert, right? Say I'm doing the leaving cert. I'm going into my English paper. I've done whatever work I've done. I'm gonna go in. The questions are already there, and that was determined by someone somewhere. I know as much as I'm going to know about this paper, and inevitably in 3 hours' time I'm going to come out with whatever grade I've put down on the paper.
Yeah.
And inevitably that is going to be sent to some man or woman somewhere who's going to, and there's nothing I can do to change that because
there's lots of variables in that time frame, though, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yes, but it's I don't know. Maybe I just believe in destiny a lot more than I believe.
Okay.
I think. Okay. I mean, it actually doesn't make much of a difference whether you believe one or the other, because even if I don't think the same way that it's inevitable that you're going to walk out, that's probably what's going to happen. So I have to do the same thing you do. I don't change.
I think that's what I mean. Like whether you are right or I'm right, we're going to end up in the same place.
Probably.
And that's kind of what I mean.
You probably will, and that's the best you can go on, so there's no point in saying that, I won't, end up like a car is going to crash through the window. I don't plan my life around cars going through the window, even though it could happen. Okay. You just have to go with the path that's most likely to happen. One
of the funnier, I was kind of looking up superstitions in sport before the podcast. One of the funnier ones I found, and you might remember this, was Colo Torre always had to be the last person on the pitch.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, so when the teams were coming out before the game, at halftime, at the end of the game, he'd always have to be like the last person.
He played for Liverpool too, by the way.
He did, and Man City. People who've listened for a few podcasts would have remembered that one. But he always would be last out, and that caused an issue. I can't remember who they were playing, but William Gallas, that will give you an idea of the time.
So it'll be like 2010?
Yeah, he was getting like treatment from the physio. The rest of the team had left, and William Gallas and the physio were going to hang back for a few minutes because his treatment hadn't finished. But Torre refused to go out, so Gallas finished his treatment, was brought back through the tunnel, back onto the pitch, and then Colo Torre ran out after him, ended up getting booked by the ref because he wasn't invited back into the game, which is a pure Torre thing. But I found that was very kind of a weird thing.
Do you remember Raymond Domenech, France manager, when they went to the World Cup 2010, I think?
After the handball,
they had a huge falling out. He was mad superstitious. Like, he would make the team. He used to get horoscopes for every player and pick his team based on horoscopes. And before games, he would make the team go in like a line, a column, and walk around the pitch, kind of praying, I think. Or meditating.
I remember that. Yeah.
Or blessing it or something.
Well, France have always had history of superstition. I don't know if you remember Fabien Barthez around the 1998 World Cup. LeBlanc started it, but the whole team ended up kissing his head before every game. Now, they were a very successful team, so it's hard to argue that the kisses didn't help. But yeah,
it's hard to argue the kisses didn't help.
But I remember I think Sturridge had a really specific way of like entering the field,
backwards, right?
Backwards and pointing up to the sky, and like that was brilliant when he was playing well. But there's a point where you're kind of going, have you not noticed how shit you are now? Like maybe that's not working anymore.
But that's probably what Finn's point is, or was, is that whether Sturridge walked on the pitch frontwards, backwards, or sideways, he still ended up being quite shite. His actions entering a field didn't actually change. I
feel like that was more my argument. It doesn't matter. Possibly. It doesn't matter.
I think you're both on the same page in different ways.
Topic. We are.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're going to finish this podcast and have to listen back to it.
Or are we? The car could come through the window.
Right. Imagine if a car came through the window now.
We'd go down in podcast history. So it's been a few weeks since we recorded last, and there's been a few developments in the Premier League recently. One noticeably being new champions, Liverpool.
Yeah.
How do you feel, Adrian?
It's been a few weeks now, so the initial high of it has kind of subsided. And it as well, I think it was coming for so long. I mean, they were basically champions for fucking months at this stage.
Yeah.
But the relief is one thing that my overwhelming feeling that night was relief.
Because you were looking shaky?
No, not from this season, but from 30 years. Obviously, the 30 years doesn't, it's not as what's the word? Prevalent for me. Okay. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Because I'm only 29. But even things I've noticed now, people, I've still seen things Gerrard never won a Premier League. That doesn't really matter to me so much anymore. I was thinking of the Gerrard slip doesn't kind of hurt as much anymore. The company goal last year doesn't hurt as much anymore. The Istanbul, it's it was all part of the journey leading up to this.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that night, honestly, I watched it. I was actually at kind of what you might call a dinner party, and with 15 minutes to go in the Chelsea City game, I just quite rudely left. I was I'm gone, because my friends were watching it down the road, and I got to their place, and when it finished, my friend had a 60-euro bottle of champagne, and he popped it, and we just had drinks out the front, and other people were celebrating across the road. It was brilliant, honestly, it was brilliant. But the next day it was kind of oh yeah, but that was always happening anyway. But it was the relief that this stick that you're kind of beaten with as a Liverpool fan of well, you've never won a Premier League, and
it's gone.
It's gone, and it won't happen again, I would say.
Yeah. I don't know.
It won't happen again.
What, another 30 years, or you won't win the league again?
No, I mean another 30 years won't happen.
Oh right,
again. Yeah.
I fucking want to hope so.
So that relief is still there.
Okay.
And I don't know about the next few years. People are kind of saying that Liverpool could be on top for the next 3 years. I don't know about that.
No, they can't fluke another few years.
But I don't think they're gonna bomb out of nowhere.
I don't think so either. But one thing, and I mean, this is
all the time.
an easy thing to say. Yeah, it does. It's an easy thing to say, right? But it's kind of it's been unfortunate that the season that you become champions was so choppy and was so taken over by the coronavirus that when the pause happened, you were essentially about to be crowned champions. Really, just a couple of weeks later, and it would have been done and dusted. But I don't know, if I was a Liverpool fan, and since the return of football, looking at how it seemingly pissed off City seem to be gunning for everything.
Yeah.
And how much United have come on as well. I think someone said this in our group chat. It may have even been yourself, Adrian, where it's next season the Premier League could be unreal. Chelsea have spent pretty good so far.
I don't think they have.
Really?
No.
Why?
Because they spent 80 million on attackers, and their defense is still fucking embarrassing.
You can pick up defenders in the summer, probably lots on frees now as well, for cheap. I mean, David Luiz or someone as well. You can always pick them up at the end of the season as a bit of a freebie, risk-free player.
I think it was Dave made that point.
Was it? Yeah.
I think it is a good one. United do look like they're up for it.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen them against, a Man City or a Liverpool.
They
haven't beaten a team outside the bottom.
That's
six.
the thing. They're just hammering the
United,
Lord.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I think and this is not to take anything away from
Sheffield.
United's scintillating form, but I think we're seeing how big the gap is between teams that can field 2 11s, and basically those 5 subs make such a difference compared to the bottom half of the league.
I hate 5 subs.
Do you?
And they're thinking of rolling it out permanently.
Keeping it.
Bullshit.
No,
that
thanks.
only favours the big teams.
Yeah.
Palace have 3 central defensive midfielders and 3 youngsters on the bench. We barely made 3 subs.
Mm-hmm. It's a stupid idea, and obviously it benefits Liverpool because they can just either put out really strong 5 subs if they're not winning, or kids if they are. But it's fucking pointless.
It made sense for the return of football because fitness and games have only really returned to normal, and I say that in like inverted, quotations or whatever. But it's only really been in the last game or two that we've seen like form and games not being like dead for the first 45 minutes. So it did make sense, but to roll it out permanently is nothing but an advantage to that top four. And I think that the FA and Sky are hell-bent on keeping that top four because it's been a bit, grey in the past few years. The top four hasn't been the traditional top four. But that has definitely contributed to United's good form, for sure.
Yeah.
I hope they don't keep the water breaks either, because eventually that'll
The
turn
timeouts.
into official like timeouts for ads and shit.
Yeah. Because it wasn't in the Premier League, it was the Championship. It could have even have been Brentford. But did you see the picture of their water break and the assistant manager bringing out a whiteboard onto the pitch?
Oh, yeah.
That's not what they're for. It's
No.
to rehydrate, not to give tactics. And how many goals do you see scored off those water breaks as well?
Yeah, and
Burnley at the weekend.
I think it fucks like a team's momentum as well. Like,
Yeah.
do you know, a team can really weather the storm after the first 15 minutes after half time, and then be starting to build momentum, and then there's not a drinks break. Like, it's bullshit.
It's true. I mean, if it was built into the game initially, sure, but it isn't. So
No.
I'm kind of not.
And it's the same with the subs. It wasn't built for that. The subs were built for injuries or, players really fatiguing. Not for half your team fatiguing. Like, then get over it.
Because it is like when you see one of the like a bigger team or a bigger name team a goal down, and you see like Jesus, De Bruyne,
I know, yeah.
Mahrez just kind of stepping up from the
Yeah.
bench. You're like, God's sake! Like,
I will say, on the point of next season, I don't think City have the depth that they had because Aguero's aging and obviously injured right now. Silva's gone and Sané's gone, and their bench all of a sudden isn't that impressive.
No, but then they'll spend like 4 weeks in the summer and just buy half another new team.
We'll see. I want to see that. I want to see transfers, but they're just not really happening except for Chelsea.
Depends on Pep as well. Pep Guardiola, whether he's staying around or not.
He's supposed to be going.
Well, his contract is up in the next season,
And
and apparently he's going to wait to make his decision on his future after the Champions League, which is going to be like August time.
The Champions League as well. The ban is being decided tomorrow.
Yes, it is Monday.
As we record, it's tomorrow.
So by the time you're listening to this, you'll know.
Yeah.
You'll know what the decision is, but that has a huge part to play in the remaining season. That brings Wolves, it brings Spurs, it brings Arsenal, Sheffield United back into the mix of European football. So there's still things to play for. We did lose one team, Norwich, recently, who got relegated. Of no surprise, really.
They're the definition of a yo-yo team.
Yeah.
They've been relegated like 5 times now.
And by getting relegated this season, it takes them off being joint 4 times relegated with Palace.
I knew
Yes.
knew that was going to be a thing. I knew it. Have you heard your man, is it Falker? No.
The manager, yeah?
Fark, is it?
Farker, isn't it?
The Norwich
Yeah.
manager. Okay.
What's his name?
I think it's Fark or Farke.
Just say the Norwich manager.
Okay.
Daniel Fark. Isn't it?
Sure.
Falker?
We haven't heard him talk, no.
Okay. He has the stereotypical German voice, German accent. It's nothing like Klopp, which is kind of low. He's like, I'm not going to do an impression. Just look it up. It's really funny.
Okay, fair enough.
I proper lolled when I
The
first heard him.
Germans.
Yeah, is it Germans?
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh no.
Yes.
I have credited like Sheffield United before for like building a style of play and sticking to it and doing well. If you think back, like Swansea as well did the same, where they were, a good team that brought their style from the Championship to the Premier League. Norwich very much have their style. It didn't work whatsoever, and they refused to change it. Deserving to go down on that, I guess.
Yes.
Sure,
Basically.
yeah.
They're just not a good enough team to be in the Premier League. That's the whole thing.
Amazing they beat City. Outplayed City.
Yeah.
With like 12 injuries.
It's kind of I was thinking about that. It's a lot like playing poker against like a really new poker player, because you have no idea if they have a strategy or if they have a game plan or whether they know betting big is because they got a good hand or not. That game was the exact same. I think Pep Guardiola set up his team to be like, well, they're probably going to defend us, so we'll set up the team like this. And then Norwich came out with this fucking wildfire tactic of just attack.
If that's the case, and he was like, they're newly promoted, so they'll probably defend, then he needs to like fire his analysis team, like, because that's fucking retarded. Because everyone knows Norwich just play their way, and that's what's fucked them. I guess. But, I guess. They've had some good points, but they're now going to go on and they're going to sell Cantwell, maybe sell Pookie.
Yeah, Cantwell's
Aaron's.
new haircut looks like he's a female MMA fighter now.
He looks like a fucking Barbie. Like.
It's pathetic. Right. It's pretty pathetic.
Have you seen it?
No.
It's proper like what do you call that when girls like?
It's kind of braided, but it's braided like weirdly. He looks like the female cage fighters in the UFC.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
You know, it's just odd. It's a weird flex. Just stop.
It'll be interesting to see if players like that now with the coronavirus go for like. I mean, he probably would have been like a 30 million player. Wonder will he go for like 12 because Norwich I'm just going to say City because City are top team. City could go to them and say we'll give you 12. Norwich probably can't say no to that anymore, you know.
I feel that we'll see like an increase in the amount of loaned players following this, because we've already seen a lot of it. Italy, you don't buy players anymore. You get a free transfer or you get a loan deal. I think we'll start to see an increase on that personally. So like Todd Cantwell will refuse to play for Norwich, and I don't know who. Let's say Man City. Man City come in and say, yeah, we'll pay his wages for a year. You get him on loan. Loan with an option to buy or something like that.
Yeah.
Like kind of Southampton and Danny Ings kind of deal.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah. It's an odd one. So yeah, enough of Norwich. Good riddance.
Good riddance. I don't mind Norwich.
See you, bitches.
Leeds looking like the team to replace them, but they've got West Brom and Brentford. I'd love to see Brentford. It's like another like kind of small team, never in the Premier League vibe. I'd love that. Don't want to see Cardiff or Fulham anymore. I've had enough of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
some new blood.
Yeah, some new blood. That's it.
Actually, I like Craven Cottage.
But they shot one of the stands. They're rebuilding it.
Fuck them so.
I guess we got like a freebie this week where we're not going to talk about anything in particular now. Any teams or any moments over the past few weeks you guys want to discuss, or any future ones, I guess? Nope. All right. Well, thanks very much for listening.
The only team I would be interested in talking about is United, probably.
Turncoat.
Like, yeah. But I have to acknowledge, we didn't talk about this beforehand, so I don't feel like it's like scripted. But we did shit all over United for the last 9 months, like really shit on them, and
for good reason.
Yeah,
and for good reason.
Deservedly so.
But you know, Fernandes honestly has come in and like turned them around. It's like that. One of those one players comes in and changes things, and they look really good. I think there's too much hype on Greenwood, and I also feel sorry, I'm giving you that, but I also feel like Pogba might be just playing because his agent told him to, so that he can get a transfer.
Fair.
Discuss.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, United deserve a lot of credit for Bruno. You know, it's that old adage: if the first 20, 50 million pound players you buy don't work out, just keep buying them, and eventually one of them will work out. Doesn't matter. Just keep spending money. Doesn't matter.
It's kind of true. Off. It is. Yeah, it is like putting a band-aid over a massive leak with him. But he's a great player.
It's just throwing shit at the wall, isn't it? And
kind of is, and it is. But the United have had that approach now for the last 5-10 years.
Past decade.
Yeah. Really has. And it's, Fernandes will. We're supposed to be complimenting.
We're like trying to give him credit, and we still shit on them.
Yeah, but I think it's fair.
Yeah,
I do think it's fair. Like we shit on Liverpool, and they're probably the most deserving Premier League champion after post Invincibles. So,
yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I know my audience.
I think it'll be interesting to see if United do any business over the summer. Like if they bring in a winger or like a top class
Sancho.
Exactly. Then the likes of Greenwood are fucking redundant. You know.
I don't know.
I do.
I think if they brought that in, if I were Greenwood and I saw Sancho walking in the door, I'd be like, "You fucking bitches! Like you cunts."
Then who would they play? So if they bought Sancho, it'd be like Rashford, Sancho,
Martial.
Yeah.
But this is not the same as what you were giving out about like Chelsea for signing already. Is that if they sign that, the defense is still pretty naff.
Although they did try to remedy it with Harry Maguire.
Yeah, I mean,
They're still trying to.
results are better.
I just don't know is their defense as bad as we think. I don't
Probably
think
not.
I don't think it's as bad as Chelsea's.
No, it's not. Chelsea's is definitely worse. One thing to make note of is, did you see how many penalties they've won over the past 2 seasons?
Yeah.
United.
25.
Well, they're gonna. They've
next
set the
highest.
They have the record penalties for most penalties in a season this season.
Yeah. And like the next highest over the 2 years is, I think, City with 11. Like crazy
Bit of
difference.
an outlier, enough to make you suspicious.
Well, especially how poor VAR has been recently. You know, it would make you a bit suspicious.
Your man is just pissed off at the Sacco thing.
I am.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm also pissed off at the Villa keeper in the Chef first game post break, carrying the ball into the fucking net and not being given as a goal.
True.
It's all been downhill.
That wasn't VAR. Well, it was VAR not stepping in, I
It's a
guess.
clear and obvious error.
True.
You know?
Not by the referee though.
I don't care. Like, don't have these fucking cameras in place if you can't use them.
I know.
You know?
The handball today was comical.
It was. It was. And that's all I'll say.
I didn't see it. I just saw a picture, but
Well, that was enough. Like, it was.
Yeah. Looked like it was neck it hit.
It kind of hit. Do you know? It looked like it hit your shoulder blade, where you'd imagine your shoulder blade is on your body, because he was down. Like the hands were by his side.
I mean, I always thought the rule was kind of like a t-shirt zone.
Yes, exactly. Below the elbow line.
And that's the official rule. It is the whole. There's a certain segment. This is like your shoulder, and the lower part is your arm.
Yeah.
And it changed the game. But look, fair play to Villa. I wouldn't mind them staying up. They got their 3 points. We're on the beach, so take that. You know.
We're in agreement that the three of us would like to see West Ham and Watford go down.
Yeah, West Ham winning
Well,
and
they
Watford
can
winning
now,
were
right?
like depressing.
Can West Ham not go down?
They still can, but it like Villa needed to win to keep it alive. Bournemouth need to win today. They're currently losing to keep it alive for like the four of them to be competing for the last spot.
Right.
But as of now, it's either going to be West Ham, Watford, or Villa. But Villa will have to pull it out of the bag every game, basically, because it's 4 points. Sorry, now the gap.
With 3 games left.
With 3 games left, yeah. So I mean, it's doable.
Yeah.
And I think Villa have West Ham next. It's a big game. Completely off topic, but did you guys see the Will Smith thing?
Yes.
No,
yes, I did.
I just heard his wife was after doing the dog on him.
Well, it's pretty weird.
It's not exactly like all the headlines are saying. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, did you watch the video?
I did.
Yeah. So
What video?
It's a podcast that his ex-wife now, or wife, they're still married, right?
is it Jada?
Jada.
It's
Jana?
Pinkett Smith is his wife.
Yeah, her.
So, like, all the headlines are like, she admits to having an affair with him, but like
With who?
with on him
Cheating on Will Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, having an
Affairing
entanglement. Entanglement, she
What do you
calls
mean?
it.
Oh, she called it an entanglement.
Yeah, she called it an entanglement.
It wasn't really it's probably on paper an affair, but they were on a break. Basically, they were like he's
like,
talking about it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we decided to split up, and then you got with this guy," and she's like, "Yeah."
And he's like, well, we all know what happened then.
Who was on this podcast, though? He was on the podcast.
So it's her podcast, and she invites people on. It's like a red table thing, I think, or red chair. I can't remember what they called it, right?
Shit podcast. by the
But
way.
yeah, he was invited on.
Will
by
Smith
her.
was on.
Yeah. So her husband
Okay,
was
I
invited
straight
on.
away don't believe a fucking word of this then.
Okay.
Because Will Smith is the biggest phony PR machine ever. And this just reeks of something that
I
was
find
set up.
him really hard going, to be honest.
He just... Everything about him just screams.
Well, they got plenty of clout for this.
Yeah.
Exact. I don't buy this shit at all. Okay? And this is me hearing about this for the first time.
That's fair.
They were on a podcast together and this just happened to come out.
Well, the podcast, like the main part of the podcast is like, you know, life and discussing life and bringing things to the table kind of thing.
I didn't realise this was her thing. I didn't realise she brought him on. I thought they were just put there.
Yeah, and now you've said it, it does feel a little bit more scripted. But it's weird.
I mean, they wouldn't
like,
have put the fucking thing out if they didn't want people to hear it.
But maybe
But
they're trying to think that they're whole, like, they're so woke and they're so...
It's not even a story. Do you know what I mean? It's like separated couple and one of them starts dating someone. It's not...
Well, the person that
not
she
scandal.
was dating was, like, the age of her son. That guy's friend. That kind of makes it a bit more creepy. Because he was, like, 20.
Oh my.
Yeah, so... But, the Smiths have massive connections to Scientology as well.
Do they?
They do. Well, Will Smith has never said he is one. And she kind of only says she's a donor to them. But, I mean, that's enough, really.
Will Smith nearly killed his career to get his son famous. Will Smith, up until the late 2000s, was maybe the only movie star left, other than Tom Cruise. Guys who, if you saw their name on a poster, people bought tickets just to see them. And his movies would make a profit no matter what shit he was in, like £7 and Pursuit of Happiness. Didn't matter. People went to see it because Will Smith was in it. And then he tried getting his son famous. He started putting his son in his movies. What's his name? Jaden.
Yeah, Willow is the other one, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and
that's the daughter.
they made her famous as well.
With my hair back and forth.
The whole family is a bunch of fucking robots, fame-hungry assholes.
Yeah.
Fuck them all.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening to the...
I think that kind of sums it up nicely, though. Yeah. Yeah.
Can we just
I'll
name
cut
this
that. I'll cut
podcast
that, to be
all
honest.
that quote?
Yeah.
Just all that quote.
I'm gonna cut that out. I can't actually say that.
You can.
No.
Apart from the pimping out children bit. Yeah.
I mean, who's going to hear it? Only the 38 people that listen
I know.
a week.
Who knows though? 50 years from now, people might dig this up.
I know.
That's it, yeah. We will get doxxed in like 20 years' time. Can't wait.
I think we have like a gentleman's agreement that any of the terrible stuff we've said in the last 10 years does not get out.
Anyone listening, I just cut out a bit of me going mad for Will Smith there, which was too much even for my standards, and I was like...
Keep it though, we might need it someday.
Yeah.
We might need it.
Blackmail. It's a strong thing.
Emergency situation.
You
If
might
I
owe
want
us
to
money or
blackmail
something.
myself.
Well, send it on to us and then...
I mean, that's a good film idea, so there you go. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Alrighty-o.
We wrap it up.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for listening to the 13th Put 'em Under Pressure podcast. Rest in peace, Big Jack. Thanks very much for listening. Check out our other podcasts on YouTube and Spotify, and go give us a like on Facebook. Ta-ra.
The game is about being effective, being aggressive, winning the ball, getting on with the play. We'll put them under pressure.